Today's lesson is about ratios and proportions. A ratio is something that compares two numbers, and a proportion compares two ratios. So let's simplify this ratio. Remember, you always want to simplify them. 3 compared to 12, 3 to 12. If you don't know how to simplify this, go ahead and change it to a fraction, and your calculator will actually do all the work for you. All you have to do is divide. 3 divided by 12 is a decimal. Math, enter is 1/4. Now, when you are writing this as a ratio, you need to make sure you're writing it in the form it started. So the 3 was on top, and that 3 reduced to a 1. 12 was second, so I put 4. So that is 1/4. Okay, let's try the next one. This is already in a fraction form, so I'm going to do 15 divided by 35. Gets me a crazy decimal. Math, enter, gives me 3/7. If you know how to simplify this already, you don't need a calculator unless you just want one. Okay. Finally, we've got 27 to 3. I'm going to go ahead and put that in fraction form. First number is always the numerator of my fraction. So 27/3. I get a whole number of 9. 9 goes on top. 1 goes on the bottom. A ratio compares two numbers. So if I'm writing a ratio, I need two numbers. Now let's solve a proportion. So down here, a proportion is something that compares two ratios. Okay, two ratios. So I get 13x over 9 plus x equals 3/10. Let's go ahead and start. So 13x times 10 is 130x, and then I get 3 times 9 plus x. What I'm going to do is distribute. So I'm going to keep my 130. 9 times 3 is 27. Not 3 times x is 3x. Move the 3x to the other side. I get 127x equals 27. When I divide by 127, I'm going to get a crazy decimal, and we're just going to round it to 0.2. Okay. Remember, when you are doing proportions, it's numerator of the first times denominator of the second, and that equals denominator of the first, numerator of the second. If you have two terms, I would highly recommend putting them into parentheses so you keep them organized. Okay, let's go ahead and try to do another one. So again, I'm going to do numerator of the first times denominator of the second. And since I have a binomial, which means two terms, I'm going to put the 10 in front, x minus 7 just in parentheses. On the second part, I just have a 2 and an x. So I'm just going to leave that as 2x, 2 times x. 10 times x is 10x. 10 times -7 is -70. Moving the 10x to the other side. -70 equals -8x. Dividing by -8, and we are going to get a decimal again. I make these problems up, so we get a lot of decimals. So x should be 8.8. Remember, we're always dividing by the number in front of x. That's one mistake some of us tend to make a lot. It's just we need to make sure that we're dividing by the number in front of x. Okay, our very last one, extended ratio problems. Okay, so use the extended ratio to solve the problem. The sum of $24,000 is to be divided into 3 shares in the ratio 3 to 7 to 5. Find the largest share. The first thing that you're going to want to do is take your extended ratio, and remember, an extended ratio just compares 3 or more numbers, and I'm going to add them together and put x's after them. So I get 3x plus 7x plus 5x. And that's always going to equal sum total. So our total here is the amount of money that has been won. So $24,000. Then you're going to solve for x. I'm going to combine like terms. So 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. And I'm bringing down the total. I'm going to divide by 15. That's the number in front of x. And I get 1,600. If I want to find out who made the most money, if I want to find the largest share, I'm going to use the largest number. And that's 7 times the share. So all I'm going to do is multiply 7 times 1,600. So 7 times 1,600 is $11,200. That is the largest share. You always want to go with the number that corresponds. So if it's like, what's the smallest share? I would use 3. Okay. If it said, what is the share of the third person? I would use 5. What is the share of the second person? I would use the 2, or use the 7 in the second spot. So remember, it's always extended ratio. Okay, it's always extended ratio equals some form of total. Guess and check would work, but it's easier to create an equation. So just always make an equation. It makes your life a lot easier.